One fake name took down a $65 million scam empire. An elderly woman was minutes away from mailing her entire retirement savings to a stranger who'd signed it as Hands Dumb. That name wasn't real, but it became the single thread that unraveled a network that had been robbing grandparents blind since 2019. Before that thread led anywhere, thousands of elderly Americans lost everything to a phone call that sounded calm, official, and completely convincing. Here's how it started. Every single time. The phone rings. An elderly man or woman picks up, and the voice on the other end says something like this: "Ma'am, we've detected fraud on your account. Someone in another state is trying to drain your savings right now." No yelling, no obvious red flags, just calm urgency, dressed up as a bank employee, a Medicare rep, sometimes even an FBI agent. For a frightened senior home alone, that calm voice was more convincing than any warning sign could ever be. This wasn't improvised. The callers worked from scripts refined over years of practice on thousands of frightened strangers. Fake badge numbers, rehearsed answers, ready for every question a nervous victim might ask. Every hesitation smoothed over before it could turn into doubt. And once someone was hooked, the real con began. The only way to protect their money, they were told, was to move it immediately. Not by wire transfer, by cash. Withdraw thousands from the bank, hide it inside something innocent, a hollow-out book, a gift box, a stack of birthday cards. Then mail it overnight to a stranger's name at a stranger's address. No questions asked. Now picture that happening not once, but over 2,000 times. From 2019 to 2023, cash-stuffed packages landed at addresses across the country like clockwork, funneling $65 million out of retirement accounts into a network stretching from Southern California to call centers overseas. Every package was someone's life savings, taped shut and dropped in the mail before they could stop and think twice. Every address was a dead end for police, and every courier who picked one up vanished before anyone could catch them, again and again, for 4 straight years, while the same phones kept ringing in kitchens across the country. Bank issued warnings. Local news ran segments telling seniors to hang up on strangers. None of it worked, because by the time a victim realized what happened, their money was already 3 states away, repackaged and untraceable. Police had no way in. What actually cracked this case open wasn't a detective, a task force, or a new law. It was a man who spent his days on YouTube pretending to be exactly the kind of victim those scammers were built to destroy. He runs a channel built around baiting scammers, and when he caught wind of this network, he decided to become the bait himself. Using voice modulation software, he turned his own voice into that of a frighteningly elderly woman. He answered the calls. He played along, confused, scared, cooperative, exactly the way the scammers expected. Every minute he kept them talking wasn't wasted time. It was a minute closer to finding out where 2,000 packages of stolen cash had actually been going. Then the scammers made their mistake. They gave him a real address to mail his life savings to. A house in South San Francisco tied to a name that is almost certainly fake, Hands Dumb. A real victim would have simply mailed the package and lost everything. But this wasn't a real victim, it was a trap. And for the first time in years, investigators had something they'd never had before, an actual place where an actual person would show up to collect the money. That's when a second team stepped in. 2 creators from a channel built entirely around confronting scammers face to face. They drove to the address, cameras rolling, and waited. When a man arrived to pick up the package addressed to Hands Dumb, they didn't just film him walking away with it, they stopped him on the doorstep. Calm, but relentless, asking questions he clearly hadn't rehearsed answers for. And here's the moment that changed everything. Under pressure, on camera, in broad daylight, the man handed over his driver's license. A real name, a real face, a real human being. Now connected to a scam that had spent 4 years hiding behind fake identities and burner phones. 2 guys with a camera had just done, in one afternoon, what banks, hotlines, and warning campaigns had failed to do in years. That footage didn't stay online for views. It went straight to federal investigators along with timestamps, addresses, and phone numbers the creators had quietly gathered along the way. With a real identity attached to the network, the FBI finally had a thread to pull. And once they started pulling, the entire operation began unraveling faster than anyone expected. Because in a scam this size, one entity always led straight to the next. At the center of it all was a man named Hua Wang, living a quiet, unremarkable life in Flushing, New York. To his neighbors, he was just the guy next door, someone who took out the trash and nodded hello. To investigators, he was the one coordinating more than 2,000 cash packages mailed by elderly victims across the country, totaling $64 million in losses. When agents finally moved on his home, they weren't arresting one scammer. They were shutting down the entire command center at once, the one man holding 4 years of operations together. But Wang wasn't the only one who should have been worried. Days before agents reached his door, his co-conspirator, Weining Xu, was already standing at JFK Airport holding a one-way ticket to China. Not a vacation, an exit. He was pulled aside just before boarding, and just like that, the second half of the operation's leadership never made it off the ground. What followed was a slow, satisfying collapse. Prosecutors laid out years of financial records, shipping manifests, and recorded calls. Evidence built partly on footage 2 YouTubers had handed them for free. One by one, the same scammers who once controlled every terrified phone call now had nothing left to script for themselves. 11 defendants, including Wang, eventually stood in court and pleaded guilty. In the end, prosecutors confirmed that those 2,000 packages had always represented real retirement funds stolen through fear and fake authority, laundered through a network built specifically so $65 million could disappear without a trace. Except this time, it didn't disappear. It led straight back to the people who took it, one fake name at a time. But here's the part that doesn't get a satisfying ending. Behind every one of those 2,000 packages was a real person. Someone's grandmother, someone's father. People who spent 40 years building a retirement fund, one paycheck at a time, and lost it in a single phone call because the voice on the other end sounded so certain, so official, so impossible to doubt. And here's the part that should genuinely worry you. Officials say this isn't rare, and it definitely isn't over. Elder fraud like this is organized, international, and running at a scale most people can't imagine, intersecting with organized crime networks on nearly every continent, from call centers to cash couriers to money launderers who never meet face to face. The grandmother answering her phone today has no idea she's facing an operation built and run exactly like a business, complete with quotas, scripts, and performance reviews. What makes this case different is simple. It wasn't the system that stopped it, not a task force, not new legislation. 2 guys with cameras, patience, and a willingness to become bait themselves. After years of complaints that went absolutely nowhere. Sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. The system only moved once ordinary people force its hand. So, if you have an older relative who answers every call and trusts a calm voice on the other end of the line, this is the story you send them tonight. Because somewhere right now, another phone is ringing, another script is starting, and knowing this happened once might be the only thing that stops it from happening again. If this pulled you in, subscribe. The next one's even stranger.